You know how it goes. Every week we've got to tease you with something, to drive that beginning of the video engagement up, and I usually try to do that by finding some kind of theme within the episode. This week that's proving very difficult thanks to a broad spread of new releases. You'll hear a lot of comparisons, this game meets that game and that kind of stuff this week, so let's go with what would you get if you took the eShop, added a bit of curation and context, and then placed a turd icon next to all the shovelware? That's right, my friends, you would get Nindie Nation episode 158. Greetings, citizens! I'm Jeff, and today we're checking out 17 brand new indie games, all hitting the Nintendo Switch through Sunday, September 4th. We've got a crazy variety of new releases to get into, and as usual, there were a few that dropped last week without warning. So don't forget to tell me which games you want to see more of on our Nindies at Night stream this Thursday. Hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't, and let's kick off episode 158 of Nindie Nation by taking a look at the 4 neglected Nindies that released since episode 157. The first game that decided to forego marketing last week was by Strange Scaffold, who we last saw release the preposterous Space Warlord Organ Trading Simulator. Well, last week they were also determined to outdo themselves with An Airport for Aliens currently run by dogs. And this thing is a train wreck. By design though, because it's a comedy game. You roam around environments that make absolutely no sense and interact with things, most notably stock photos of dogs and your human friend Krista. I've watched 4 trailers, 2 of which were narrated, and telling you any more is a waste of time because nothing here makes sense. It's just a vessel to experience the funny dialogue and gags. I guess that's fine, but I wouldn't say it's $20 fine. 1M Band ported a mobile game called Guns at Dawn Arena for $3.99, and it sounds kinda fun. You just drop into a one-on-one Western-themed gunfight and see who comes out alive. The progression itself reeks of free-to-play mechanics, but of course they've all been stripped of real-world money. And overall, it just seems meant to be a fun little way to kill a few minutes. I could see this being a good time on your phone, but I'm not so sure about the Switch. Next up is a game that includes a seizure warning, so if you need to, skip ahead by about a minute. Moonglass, a publisher who's recently ported a bunch of games like Raging Blasters and Gemini Arms, went back to the well last week with Mixolumia, a music-themed falling block puzzle game by Dave Makes for $15. It appears to play a lot like Lumines, but the shapes will change orientation based on the shape of the level itself. As you play, it builds its own music, and from what I've seen, it seems to be pretty fun, just a bit too pricey at launch. The last release from last week is a horror-themed visual novel based on Alice in Wonderland. It's called, fittingly, Alice's Warped Wonderland Recollection, and comes by way of Nightmare Studio for $24.99. Dang, these neglected Nindies are driving a hard bargain this week, huh? It's been adapted from mobile with updated visuals and music, and is a brand new vessel to take the characters you know and love and portray them in a way that is sure to give you nightmares. And then of course we've got the parade of dog shit that's brought to you by publishers you should never support. This week, the Nindie Nevers see a new challenger with Pixel, who releases Coloring Book for Adults. As far as the others are concerned, Blossom's Bloom Boutique by Mindscape sounds like a euphemism. Modern War Tank Battle is the latest collection of Brown by Trues. Pillar Builder Puzzle almost looks like fun until you realize it's published by Megame, or Me Game. Cooking and Publishing stole 2 games with the Vikings game Madness Fight and Beach Boys You and Me, and it doesn't seem fair for Ultimate Games to ask you to find shit in Viki Spotter Undersea when they can't even find any good games to publish. And finally, Midnight Works stood up, pulled down their pants, and just crapped all over the keyboard to create Hashiraya Drifter Car Racing Drift Drag Online Multiplayer Simulator Games Driving Sim. Well, I'm certainly not seeing anything in this lineup, but if you are, let me know down in the comments. For now, though, let's set our sights on the excellent week ahead. These are the 17 new releases hitting the Nintendo Switch through Sunday, September 4th. First up for the week is a good old 3D collectathon platformer called Tinykin. And if you like what you see here, there's a demo available right now. On Tuesday the 30th, the game by Splash Team and Tiny Build releases with a discount for $22.49, and so far it's getting great reviews. Its simplistic art style and papercraft characters really pop off the screen as you take the role of Milo, a kid who's been shrunk to the size of an ant, and explores his house in the year 1991. As you can see, the game also employs a mechanic of little creatures that follow you around to be used pretty much in the exact same way as Pikmin, where you can use them to attack, carry things, or open up new areas. With positive reviews, a demo available, and a launch week discount, Tinykin helps get this week started on the right foot. A long-awaited sequel to an early Switch release is up next, as Idea Factory brings us Dusk Diver 2 for a whopping $50. As with the original, this is a stylish, brawler-focused action RPG that could easily be mistaken at times for a Persona game. Reviews are very mixed though, skewing more towards the category of meh because of the game's vastly expanded scope that seems to lack any additional depth. It sounds like if you want a flashy action RPG brawler, there is a good game here, but with enemies sponging up all the damage you deal and a general lack of anything new, it's safe to assume that this will be a much easier pill to swallow once it's had a few price drops. And last on the Tuesday release list is the largest game we've seen yet by budget developer and publisher Dillyframe. I don't see anything really exciting here, but for $1.99, Robbie's Adventure knows exactly what it is. It's a side-scrolling platformer that proudly claims,
"Sometimes you will have to slow down and sometime run with all your legs,"
and features a tiny toy robot that is apparently super depressed. Oh, and apparently it includes, quote, dynamic gameplay? You know, because marketing. The sole title dropping on Wednesday the 31st is also a sequel, with Purple Tree and Clabater going back to the arcade soccer well with Golazo 2 for $14.99. If you were a gamer in the era between, say, 1993 to 2003, you probably remember when arcade sports games like NBA Jam, NFL Blitz, and Wayne Gretzky's 3D hockey reigned supreme. That's exactly what this vibrant take on soccer is going for, and I'm pretty stoked to check it out. The original, in my opinion, was unfairly reviewed back in 2019, mostly because the media wanted it to be something that it never claimed to be. But I found the simple pick-up-and-play ridiculousness of Golazo to be a lot of fun. Reviews aren't yet available at the time of recording, but if you enjoy the similar games of yesteryear, I'd put Golazo 2 on your radar. Before we get into an amazing Big Thursday drop, here's a few games that you should not put on your radar. Project Snaky is just Snake, and it's $5. Thanks, Cube Games. Space Tanks is just tanks in wait a second, those aren't tanks, those are four-wheelers. Great job, PixArts. And Troop is a very weird 2D platformer, unsettling even, and while my hunch is that you shouldn't buy it, it might show some who am I kidding? It's the latest by Game National! And then, we've got something very special, my friends. The latest release by acclaimed publisher Corvo Studio di Ama de Marco? Careful, this is real game footage you're about to see. I know, crazy what they've accomplished, right? You can actually see the bodies on the ground twitching. Look how authentic it is. Oh, no, I think that's a glitch. 20 players online? Motion captured animations? Yeah, that's exactly what people look like to me. Oh man, there's a squad and roll system?
I think that just means you can point at stuff.
Look, I can't tell if this game is for real or not. If they think they have to clarify its in-game footage, who knows? Easy Red 2 is $8, which is perfectly reasonable. I just couldn't control myself when I watched that trailer. Okay, first on the Big Thursday drop is probably my most anticipated game for the week, even if I've played like a dozen games with a nearly identical pitch since starting Nindie Nation. Anno Mutationum is a cyberpunk action-adventure with RPG stuff all over the place. Hack, slash, wall jump, cyber ninja stuff in a neon world. I can't get enough of this stuff. One thing it does differently, though, is swap between 2D for the action and 3D for the exploration and story beats. That does give me pause as I'm worried it'll ruin the pacing, but I'll reserve judgment because I want to play it for myself. In fact, you can give it a whirl too if you want because there's a demo available right now. It's developed by Thinking Stars, a team based in Beijing that I think was founded in 2016 just to make this game. It released on PC in March to very mixed reviews. A lot of people love the action and, when suspending belief a bit, enjoyed the story too. The negative reviews, though, mostly centered around the story and an overall lack of depth as the game focuses on doing just a little bit of a lot. I'm looking forward to it though, because I think I'd probably err more on the side of the positive reviews. We'll see though, it's the first Nindie to release in September and comes to us by way of Lightning Games for $22.49. While Anno was my most anticipated game for the week, I have a feeling a lot of you are going to be really excited about the long-awaited release of the Kickstarter darling Ooblets. Look, if you research the game, there was some controversy that you'll likely stumble upon. Gamers got mad and they treated the developers at Glumberlin like crap. I'm not going to dig into it here, but I think if you truly understand the timeline of events, you would be on the side of the developers more than the angry internet gaming mob. Hey you, don't be in an angry internet gamer mob. Anyways, Ooblets is like the definition of a cozy game, but it does some really cool stuff too. You're a farmer/manager of your home in a town, and you do all the kinds of things that go along with that. But when you farm, you raise ooblets, adorable little animal food things that, as they grow and level up, they can become more than just your friends, they can become your slaves. Wait, well, I guess they gleefully automate the boring parts of your job so that you can focus on the parts of the game that you enjoy. Is that better? In addition, there's a major aspect of the game that takes place via card-based dance battles, which is mostly how you level up and unlock stuff. There's a bunch of mystery to uncover, an arcade to explore, and all kinds of live service challenges that'll keep you busy day in and day out. I feel like this game is tailor-made for cozy game fans, but also for those who, like me, find those games a bit too boring because it adds in RPG systems and something of a combat system through dance battles. Not only that, but since it's been in early access for 2 years, it's had a lot of refinement and launches with a ton of added content and a hearty amount of positive reviews. If you happen to be on the fence, it brings with it a launch week discount of 33%, so you can get it this week for $19.99. Next up is another title that should speak loud and clear to a select group of indie fans. Published by Graffiti Games, whose catalog includes Blue Fire, Onion Boy Commits Tax Evasion, and Mabel in the Wood, comes Restless Soul for $11.99, which reflects a 20% launch discount. I have to imagine that if you sat down with the solo developer Fuzz Games, you'd find their favorite games include Undertale, Classic Zelda, and Enter the Gungeon. You follow me? Complete with a healthy dose of humor, you help a wayward soul return to the land of the living through a visual style that, while black and white, includes top-down segments as well as this cool HD 2D-like perspective that I can't really explain, but you're seeing right now. You'll explore vast towers with bullet hell battles that are clear to call out they aren't punishing, but rather bullet hell light, alongside typical puzzles, secrets, and 8 different towns to round out a package that is probably best described as a different take on the classic Zelda formula. Even if you're worried about the difficulty, there's a bunch of accessibility options, so if this seems up your alley, go check it out before the price jumps back up to $15. And then, from our favorite category of Nindies, those that refuse to be put in the box of any particular genre, we have City Wars Tokyo Rain for $12.99. This is the team at Mojo Bones' first release on the Switch, though they've had a few other titles on mobile, PC, and 3DS, none of which I've ever heard of. At its core, it's a deck-building card battler set in a neon cyberpunk world. Where it verges from others, though, is in its approach. There are 2 phases to combat. In the first, you and your opponent can see each other's decks as well as a timeline for combat. You'll take turns placing your cards and seeing how the timeline is altered, with cards for attack, defense, buffs, all the usual stuff, in addition to cards that can impact the timeline as well. And when you're ready to go, you initiate combat and just watch the timeline play out. In that way, it's a lot more about thinking ahead than it is thinking in the moment. which might sound similar, but I have a feeling it makes the gameplay very differently. The vibe looks really cool, and if you're a fan of these games, it seems reasonably priced. There's a lot of modes included too, but if you want to know where I'd start with the mode that includes procedurally generated levels, roguelike mechanics, and RPG elements! Next up is a game that was announced almost a year ago, but I had completely forgotten it existed. Don't Nod, the team best known for Life is Strange, has a brand new game that is sure to give you the feels. Gerda, A Flame in Winter, follows Gerda, a Danish nurse in World War II, whose home is occupied and must now carefully navigate what life is like not on the front lines of war, but for those unwilling participants feeling the struggle nonetheless. It's got a really cool look that blends pixel graphics with watercolor style in an isometric view that has you regularly taking direct control of Gerda herself. You'll explore, talk to people, and make choices just like Life is Strange, but there's also a bit of resource management to change things up. It releases for $19.99, and I look forward to seeing how it reviews. And then we've got 3 games that I have no idea where to put, so they're gonna go right here.
Chessbrain Dark Troops
is the latest isometric puzzle game by Cubite Interactive. It's $3.99 and is of course based on chess, but with the goal of getting your king to a specific point on an otherwise non-traditional chessboard. Red Octopus wants to sneak some education into gaming with,
Two Weisstein, The Curse of the Red Dragon 3 Ranger Pirates.
If you took a 3D Zelda game, gave it very rudimentary visuals that almost look like a Roblox level, themed it around pirates, and snuck in math quizzes throughout, that seems to be what you're getting here. No clue what to think about this one, but it's $20.
Here Comes Nico
is another confusing title, but it's been very positively received since its PC release last year. Developed by Frog Vibes and published by Gears for Breakfast, who previously created A Hat in Time, this is a, quote,
cozy 3D platformer for tired people.
Whatever that means. It uses a visual style similar to Demon Turf, where you have the detailed flat paper characters against a 3D world, and other than that, seems like a pretty typical 3D platformer for $24.99. Onsen Master, as far as I can tell, asks,
what if Overcooked
with Hot Springs?
Developed by Walking Oni and published by the Keyframe crew, Argot, and Whitethorn Games, you'll travel across a fantasy land on a quest to heal customers in ridiculous situations by balancing a bunch of spinning plates among the chaos that ensues. It's $14.99 and wraps up the list of games that I have no idea where to put. Featuring one of the most interesting stories I've seen in a visual novel, the team at
Rainy Frog
brings Murder on the Marine Express for just $4.99. Leveraging some lovely pixel art, it follows a class of students at an all-girls school who are taking a field trip on the brand new submarine train which runs from California to Japan. On the way, they learn someone's murdered their teacher, and it's up to you to discover who done it. Not only do I like the vibe of this game, but I also like how it runs across 5 chapters in just about 4 hours, so it's very digestible. All of this for just $5? Sounds like a great time to solve a mystery. Or rewrite history. Hey, if you're an old fart like me, chances are you remember the tidal wave of Flash games that were all over the internet in the late aughts, and then many of which that turned into early iOS games a few years later. If by chance you played Draw Writer, it looks like we're in for a treat, because the developer and publisher, 17 Studio, has gone back to the well to bring us Draw Writer Remake. It's a very simple physics dirt bike game, not unlike Excite Bike or the Trials series. All that said, it launches with a 30% discount, but even $10 feels like way too much for this game. I do want to check it out, but I'll probably wait for that sub $5 price. There's only one game releasing on Friday, September 2nd, but as usual, it's from Rattlelake Games. Also, as usual, it's a simple 2D game with pixel art for $5. Super Sunny Island, though, looks like a great time. It's just a little run and gun, but something about a penguin with a shotgun just makes me all warm and fuzzy inside. It's from a solo developer who goes by the name Light Up, and I'm really feeling this one. Finally, in the odd Saturday release, we've got the latest by Nakana.io, who's got one of the most bizarre catalogs which also happen to see pretty good scores. They've got games like EQQ, Infini, and Lydia to name a few, and this week they add Please Touch the Artwork, and there's a demo available for this one too. Oddly enough, this is the first of their releases that I'm really intrigued by. It's some kind of line art puzzle game where every area you touch changes color, but also changes the colors around it. So it's a game of figuring out what triggers what, and then doing it all in the right order. And some of the puzzles in this trailer look crazy. It's got a great reception, it's won a few accolades already, and wraps up the week for $7.99. What stands out for you this week? I see a lot. If you like 2D action, there's Dusk Diver, Super Sunny Island, and my favorite, Anno Mutationum, but there's a broad range of other stuff available too. Ooblets, Restless Souls, City Wars, and Murder on the Marine Express all look like a good time. Let me know down in the comments if you're picking anything up, or if there's something you really want to see this Thursday on Nindies at Night. You can also find us on Twitter, or come hang out with a bunch of indie fans over on our Discord. Next week is looking sick, citizens. We've got the long-awaited Pokemon-like Temtem, some kind of air combat game where you control a giant eagle thing, and how could you go wrong with a dating sim for kaiju? I guess we'll just have to find out next week, because we're all done for today. Thanks so much for watching, liking, subscribing, and sharing Nindie Nation with others. Until next week, I'm Jeff. This has been Nindie Nation episode 158, and remember, no matter what type of game you're looking for, Nindie Nation will be right here to help you find just the thing to keep your Joy-Cons synced.